of 1 hour on Sarah Island. As we wander around each part of the island, please try and move fairly quickly, because that way I'll be able to give you a really good tour and still give you time to have a look around. Considering the reputation of this place as being the very worst, the most bloody, the most brutal and the most dreaded penal settlement in the whole of British colonial society. All in between the individual cells are ½ a metre in thickness. But although it was actually constructed here, this jail was not used very often. The most common form of punishment here on Sarah Island was physical, the heavy naval cap. And in 1825, 240 men received 10,000 lashes. That is an extraordinarily high punishment rate. I mean, why are the men on the island being punished like this? They're not murderers, violent thieves or rapists, they're executed. The men that are sent here are young men in their 20s, innocuous bushrangers, persistent escapees. And while they're here, they're being punished for things like insolence, disobedience, escape attempts, possession of contraband, and also for refusing to work. I mean, what would you call it if 12 men from the same work gang were all punished on the same day for refusing to work? We call it a strike. And it's not the only one that happens here. I mean, this is not a place where men give up, lay down and die. This is a battleground where men are fighting for powerful ideas. In fact, in 1825, this island is in a state of revolt, partially caused by an escape from the island a year before by 15 men. One of those men just happens to go on to be our famous Tasmanian bushranging hero, the gentleman bushranger, Matthew Brady. Mate, it's good to see you back. Hey, Matt Brady, I've got a question. How come you only escaped with 15 blokes?
I don't know.
That wasn't your original intention, was it?
Nope.
No, you see, Matt Brady's original intention was to capture the settlement, hold the commandant to ransom, and free everyone. Now, he stuffs up. Instead of capturing the commandant, he captured the drunken doctor instead. He's useless. So Matt Brady barely escaped with his life, but vows and declares he's going to return at a later stage and he's going to free everyone. Well, this leaves the military in fear of their very lives. So in order to quell their rebellion, they decide they're going to stage an execution here on Sarah Island. 3 men have committed murder here on Sarah Island. 1, 2, 3! Are sent to Hobart for trial, found guilty, brought back here and hanged. But don't misunderstand what murder represents. The men here are deeply religious. Suicide itself is a one-way ticket straight to hell, but if I murder you, and you cleanse your black soul and repent before I murder you, you'll end up in heaven. Oh, and if I repent before I'm hanged, I'll join the death. Not bad. It's a perfectly acceptable form of escape, but it is a fairly permanent one. Now these 3 are hanged, but the convicts themselves turned it into a day of carnival. They laugh, sing songs, tell jokes. And these 3 kick off their boots into the crowd. Go on, guys, kick off your boots into the crowd, and they yell, "Goodbye, Jack." Jack, like the playing card, is the cant word for the devil. You see, that's how they see the authority here. By being hanged, these guys are escaping from hell. Not a bad sentiment. Behind me is a beautiful example of a Suffolk parish oven. It was built by a convict named William Bull. And if you actually have a look at the mouth of the oven, you'll notice the bricks above it are in a vertical position. The whole domed roof of the inside of this oven is made up of these vertical bricks held together by their own weight. No mortar, in a circular pattern with keystones down the centre. It's also slightly tilted in its head. And to find out more about that, let's head over here. Just to point out a couple of extra features, the lower part of the island would have been the working area of the island. They had the bootmaker's workshop, engineer stores, blacksmith forges. This is where all the working and industrial area would have been. Behind us is the quarry. You can see how sharply the land drops away there. Once that quarry was established, that became the muster yards and the punishment yards for the convicts, but that was also the site of the hanging of our 3 mates. It recorded that 198 men received 8,004 lashes. In 1829, 30 men received 800 lashes. That's a 90% drop in the punishment rate, quite extraordinary in 1 year under the same commandant. So what happened? Well, we believe the story started 3 years earlier in 1826 with 3 events. The first is the arrival on the island of the new commandant, James Butler, who's a no-nonsense efficient man with a passion for building. The second was a massive storm which blew up, and it blew every structure away from the foreshore. It's a transportable offence for the convicts out here. So therefore they gang up. Another man joins him on the island. His name is David Hoy. He is a master shipwright from Dundee in Scotland. David Hoy is a wealthy and ambitious man. What are you doing in a place like this, Mr. Hoy? What's going on? He is going to make money, that's for sure. Now, we do know your story is also closely connected with that of the penitentiary around the corner. So let's take this lot down to the penitentiary and you can tell them your side of the story. Come on. Walls loud, wind blowing, very uncomfortable. But why did they decide to build the comfortable penitentiary out here on the most exposed promontory? Well, the answer to that lies in the base of the gully. The bottom of this control of the pattern of movements of the convicts around the island was very important for the authorities to keep under their control. So that's why they built it again out here. Of course, that doesn't sort of help us with the... ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we bring you down here is that this is the heart of the shipyard. These are the slip yards where 131 vessels were built over a 12-year period on Sarah Island, making this the largest producing shipyard anywhere in the British colony. Quite extraordinary. Now, most of the vessels that were built here were the smaller working vessels of the day, such as whale boats. These are flat-bottom boats up to 20 feet in length, 30 tonnes in weight, built up on shore just over here. And once they were completed, they have to be pushed down into deep water. So you have to do it by the small boats. They create a lovely flat platform on which the smaller vessels were launched. Now, underneath these timbers are 5 massive blue gum timbers running directly underneath, to which these are attached by trennels. These are wooden pegs, 1/2 metre in length. You can see 2 large timbers coming out of the water on either side. These act as wedges, holding this structure tightly into position. Smaller vessels were constructed up on shore. Once they were completed, they pushed sideways to the end of the small boat slip just here. And once they had reached this point, they then dropped lowered gently down into deep water.
Oh my God.
All right, it's cold here. Very 4 metre in diameter. This is the base supporting platform for a massive working wharf, which extends to my left, above my head height, right back past where you're standing, at the level of the platform you're standing on at the moment, built up with heavy rock and rubble, topped off with gravel. You can see the rock and rubble just in front of you here. Now I'm very carefully making my way out to the edge of this blue gum timber, just here, and then I'm going to step across onto another blue gum log, 10 metres in length. This one marks the end of the working wharf, and behind me it's quite deep. Larger vessels were moored here to complete their decking, step the masts, and finish the rigging. Finishes just over here with another blue gum log running directly into shore. I don't miss it. Oh, there we go. Coming straight into shore here.